My name is Natalie Pierce. I'm 28 years old. Oh, for nearly 3 years, I thought I had built something solid with Ethan. We'd been together for just over two and a half years, and for the past year, we even shared an apartment. I wasn't the type to post grand declarations on social media or write flowery notes. My love was steady, practical. I worked a reliable job in logistics, paid my half of the rent before it was due, never forgot Ethan's mother's birthday, and made sure we showed up to his family dinners every week. If he needed me, I was there quietly, consistently. When Ethan lost his job 6 months into our relationship, I picked up groceries without complaint and helped him rework his resume. When he fought with his brother, I stayed up until 200 in the morning, just listening as he vented. I didn't try to fix his pain. I just sat there because I knew he didn't want solutions. He just wanted presence. At first, he seemed to treasure that. He once joked, "You're the calm to my chaos." Nice. I smiled when he said it, thinking it was a compliment. But about a year into living together, something shifted. The little joke started. "Don't you ever miss the thrill of chasing someone?" Or, "It's like we're already married, too comfortable." At first, I brushed them off, thinking maybe it was stress from his career struggles. I doubled down on reassurance, reminded him he was attractive, told him I trusted him completely. But then came the comment that stuck like a splinter. "You don't even get jealous when other women flirt with me. It's like you don't care." I remember standing there stunned. In my world, jealousy wasn't proof of love, it was poison. But to Ethan, my steadiness wasn't enough anymore. He didn't want calm. He wanted sparks, fire, and chaos, even if he had to set the match himself. That was when the unease settled in my chest. A quiet dread I couldn't name yet, because deep down I knew he was about to start testing me. The first time I noticed it, we were at a house party. One of our mutual friends had invited us, the kind of gathering where the music was too loud, beer cans scattered across countertops, and everyone trying a little too hard to seem fun. That's when Brianna walked in. She was the kind of woman who filled a room, loud laughter, bold outfits, and a way of leaning in close when she talked that blurred the line between friendly and flirtatious. She thrived on attention. Ethan liked her immediately. I told myself not to overthink it. She was a friend in our circle, and Ethan was allowed to have friends. But the way he gravitated toward her, it nodded at me. That night, I came back from the kitchen carrying drinks when I saw them, Ethan and Brianna, heads tilted too close, laughing at something. She touched his arm in a way that wasn't casual, and then, as if on cue, she glanced at me. It wasn't a quick glance. It was deliberate. Her hand still on him, her eyes locking with mine. Ethan noticed I was watching, and instead of pulling away, he smiled faintly, almost daring me to react. I froze. My instinct was to trust, to not feed into whatever game was happening. So I just stood there for a beat, then walked past them like nothing was wrong. On the car ride home, Ethan was quiet, too quiet, until finally he broke the silence. "You didn't even flinch tonight," he said, his voice low. I frowned. "What are you talking about?" He shot me a look with Brianna. "I was practically draped over her and you didn't even care." The words sank like stones. "Wait, you did that for a reaction?" Ethan leaned back in his seat, arms crossed. "Natalie, seriously, if you saw me cozy with another woman and felt nothing, what does that say about us?" I blinked, trying to wrap my head around it. "It says I trust you, or at least I did." That should have ended the conversation, but Ethan wasn't finished. He leaned forward, his tone sharper now. "You never get jealous. It's like you're emotionally asleep." Brianna got more riled up about a stupid drinking game than you ever do about me. That stung. I gripped the steering wheel tighter, keeping my voice calm. So now I'm supposed to compete with the party clown to prove I care. "Don't twist it," he snapped. "I just want to feel like I matter enough to fight for." I didn't say the thing clawing at the back of my throat. That real love doesn't need tests, that someone secure doesn't bait jealousy just to feel wanted. Instead, I just said softly, "I'm not going to perform jealousy for you, Ethan. That's not love. That's insecurity." His silence after that wasn't relief. It was resentment. I could feel it radiating off him like static. And deep down, I knew this wasn't over. He hadn't gotten the reaction he wanted, which meant he would push harder. A week later, Ethan invited me to a party one of his coworkers was throwing. I didn't want to go. I had an early shift the next morning, and honestly, things between us had been tense. ever since that argument in the car. But Ethan insisted. It'll be good for us, he said, his eyes fixed on the mirror as he put on cologne. You've been so distant. I wanted to say I've been distant because you turned our relationship into a game I never agreed to play, but instead I nodded and let him lead me out the door. The party was crowded, music pulsing too many glasses of wine in people's hands. I stuck close to the kitchen chatting politely with one of Ethan's coworkers about football, pretending to be interested. And then out of the corner of my eye I saw him, Ethan on the living room floor dancing. Not just dancing, grinding against Brianna, his hand on her hip, her head thrown back in laughter like she was auditioning for a movie. But the worst part, his eyes. Even as Brianna spun around him, Ethan's eyes locked onto mine across the room. And then he smirked. It wasn't the smirk of someone caught in the wrong. It was a gotcha smirk, a challenge. Do you care now, Natalie? Will you fight for me? My body went cold. The room, the music, the people blurred into static. I wasn't embarrassed because strangers saw it. I was humiliated because the man I loved orchestrated it. I didn't storm over. I didn't pull him away. I just turned, walked out the front door, and drove home. No texts, no calls. Hours passed. Until finally at 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Ethan. Oh, now you're jealous. Finally. I sat there staring at the screen, the bile rising in my throat. He thought he had won. That by humiliating me he'd unlocked some proof of love. But all he had unlocked was my clarity. I wasn't in a relationship. I was in a performance. And Ethan had cast me as the unwilling audience to his little tests. For the first time in months, my decision felt simple. I wasn't going to play anymore. The next morning, I packed my suitcase, methodical, calm. Clothes, toiletries, the few things I cared about. I didn't take the couch or the TV or the bookshelf we'd filled together. He could keep all of that. I wrote one short note, placed it on the nightstand. I don't compete for affection. Good luck, Ethan. I dropped my key beside it, closed the door behind me, and didn't look back. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream or cry or leave a trail of broken glass in my wake. I just left. My friend Derek let me crash on his couch. He didn't press me for details, didn't demand an explanation. He just handed me a beer and sat with me in silence. The kind of silence that feels like safety. When I finally told him what happened, he sighed softly and said, Nat, he's been testing you for a while. You just stopped playing. And he was right, but Ethan didn't see it that way. The first wave of texts came the next morning. Ethan, I don't get it. You just leave no conversation. Can we talk, Ethan? You are being unfair. Brianna means nothing to me. Not a shred of apology, not a single acknowledgement of what he'd done, just complaints. When I didn't respond, the calls began. 10 missed calls in one night, then silence, then another barrage the next morning. The tone shifted quickly. Ethan, you're being so cold. Is this what you do? Shut down when things get complicated. Ethan? Wow. I guess I was right. You never cared as much as I did. The manipulation was textbook flip. The roles paint himself as the victim. Make me the villain for walking away. When that didn't work, he got creative. Alternate Instagram accounts. New numbers. One was literally named Fresh Start 2025. I laughed out loud when I saw it. Nothing screams growth like hiding behind a fake username to stalk your ex. Then came the mutual friends. Hey, Ethan's really hurting. Maybe just hear him out. But I'd lived with his hurt. I'd carried it. I'd sacrificed my own peace to protect his ego. So I finally replied once to a mutual friend. So was I. He just didn't notice. And that was the last explanation I gave. Slowly I began to notice something else. The mutual stopped bringing him up altogether. His drama was exhausting not just for me, but for everyone. It was like the storm he created had finally spun out, leaving him in the center alone. And me. For the first time in a long time, I was breathing again. Weeks passed. I found a small apartment closer to work. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. The first morning I woke up there, I noticed something I hadn't felt in months. Silence. Not the heavy, suffocating silence of an argument waiting to erupt, but the soft, steady quiet of peace. I built routines again. Started hitting the gym before work. Cooked meals that were just for me. No one else's preferences hovering over my shoulder. Slept through the night without waking up to the vibration of late-night arguments, or endless, "Where are you?" texts, and slowly I started to feel human again. Meanwhile, Ethan's chaos spilled outward. A mutual friend mentioned casually over coffee. Yeah, things with Brianna didn't last. Imploded in 2 weeks. The second she realized he wasn't just fun at parties, but needy, she bailed. Apparently, she blocked his number, stopped responding altogether. One night, when he tried confronting her at another party, she laughed in his face and said, "You got what you wanted, made Natalie jealous. Go celebrate." The irony tasted bittersweet. That was the gamble he chose, and he lost. But I didn't feel triumphant. Not really, just detached. Around this time, I started talking to someone new. His name was Daniel. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He didn't make everything into a performance. We met through a mutual friend, and our first real conversation stretched for hours. He asked questions and actually listened. No hidden motives, no traps, just easy warmth. For the first time, I wasn't bracing myself for tests. I wasn't decoding every word, every glance. I was just me, and that was enough. The contrast between Ethan and Daniel was staggering. One needed me to burn to prove he was worth the fire. The other simply sat with me in the quiet, and the quiet felt like home. But deep down, I knew Ethan wasn't finished. People like him never leave quietly. There would be one last test. 3 months after I left Ethan, I got a message from my friend Jordan. "Hey, small birthday dinner this weekend. Low-key promise, no drama." I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to risk running into Ethan, but Jordan had stayed neutral through everything, never taking sides, and it had been months. I wasn't hiding from him anymore. So I went, and I didn't go alone. Daniel came with me. When we walked into the restaurant, I felt it instantly, the sharp weight of a stare. Ethan sitting at the far end of the table, glass of wine in hand, frozen mid-sip. His smile faltered like a flickering light bulb. Daniel leaned toward me and whispered, "That's him, isn't it?" I nodded once. "Yep." Dinner went on. We laughed, traded stories, passed the plates around. Daniel fit in effortlessly, kind and steady, the exact opposite of the chaos I'd left behind. But Ethan couldn't keep still. He kept stealing glances, his eyes darting from me to Daniel, then back again. It was only a matter of time. Sure enough, when I got up to help clear dishes, Ethan followed me into the kitchen. "I didn't think you'd come," he said. His tone caught between accusation and surprise. "Jordan invited me," I answered flatly. "I almost didn't." "But you did, and you brought him." His eyes flicked toward Daniel, his mouth curving into a smile. I used to know too well. Half challenge, half wounded pride. "He seems nice." "He is," I replied simply. He shifted closer, dropping his voice. "You look different, healthier, happier. I've been thinking about us a lot." I kept stacking plates. "We don't need to talk about us, Ethan." His laugh was forced brittle. "I just feel like we fizzled out without closure." That was when I turned to him fully, my voice calm, steady. "We didn't fizzle. You set fire to things just to see if I'd put them out. And when I didn't react the way you wanted, you called me cold." His eyes widened, but I didn't stop. "You didn't want love, Ethan. You wanted proof. You wanted me to be jealous, to fight to claw, just so you could feel worth something. But real love doesn't demand performance. It trusts. And you didn't trust me or yourself." For the first time, he didn't have a quick comeback. His lips parted like he wanted to argue, but no words came. "I never wanted to hurt you," he whispered finally. "I know," I said softly. "But you did anyway, because hurting me was easier than admitting you didn't feel worthy." His face crumpled, a flicker of shame there for just a second. "So you're really over it?" I held his gaze. "I was over it the moment I realized loving you meant constantly proving it, and I'm not auditioning for anyone ever again." Just then, Daniel appeared at my side, gently resting his hand on my arm. "Everything okay?" I smiled at him. "Yeah, just done cleaning up a mess." We walked back to the table together. When I glanced back, Ethan was still standing there in the kitchen alone. No Brianna, no friends, hovering, just silence. And this time it belonged to him. After that night, I didn't block Ethan. I didn't need to. There's nothing more permanent than indifference. A few weeks later, a mutual friend sent me a screenshot from Ethan's social media, a blurry photo of a city skyline at night with a cryptic caption. "Sometimes you don't know what you had until it's gone." No names, no drama, just an echo. I stared at it for all of 3 seconds before closing my phone. I had groceries to unpack, dinner to cook. Daniel was coming over later, and we were planning to watch a movie. Something lighthearted, something that didn't feel like a performance or a test. And that was the difference. With Ethan, I had been constantly measured, constantly provoked into proving love like it was an exam. I could fail. With Daniel, there were no hoops, no traps, no silence, sharpened into punishment, just presence. The funny thing is, I don't think Ethan ever realized that what he called my coldness was really just exhaustion. That I wasn't distant because I didn't care. I was distant because I was tired of being baited, cornered, and misunderstood. But by the time he understood that if he ever did, I was already gone. I used to think closure was something the other person gave you. A conversation, an apology, some mutual agreement to put the past to rest. Now I know closure isn't given. It's claimed. And I claim mine. The moment I chose silence over the endless noise of his games, I walked out of his life quietly and into my own, finally free, finally steady, finally